You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Folks, welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will.
I wish I knew how to say hello in Russian.
Oh, well. On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves. And today, we're getting into... You've seen the title of the podcast, but we're getting into a pretty serious and morose film.
Hopefully my jokes are tasteful.
We're going to try and bring some levity to this.
Yeah.
But it's a very intense film, but I do think it's very important. I'd had this film recommended to me many times.
And you've recommended it to me.
Right, because you're a big fan of All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yes.
And I've always heard that this film is very similar. And
yeah,
now
it's
that we've
kind
seen
of
it,
shocking how similar it is.
Yes. So the film is called Come and See. It is a Soviet-made film. It was released in 1985.
That's right.
It is available to watch on the Criterion channel, and it's also for free on YouTube under a channel called Mosfilm, M-O-S-F-I-L-M.
That's the film that produced it.
Oh, is that the producer?
That's one of the production companies that did it.
Well, they just have it up on YouTube for free to watch.
Well, I mean, it was Soviet Russia, so like everything was free.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I was wondering who actually owns the rights to this, because you can buy a physical copy of it that's been restored by the Criterion group. But like, I don't understand how the rights with Soviet things work, because like there's a whole movie about Tetris, about how that worked.
I was just about to bring up Tetris.
Because they were trying to, negotiate
Monetize
the
it.
rights to
Yeah.
something where they were like, well, it's just, people can have this. It's just
For free,
out
yeah.
there.
I made this with love.
Right. And it came from a country or a system where, they didn't believe in capitalism. You know, they were like, what do you mean you want to sell this to people? Like, just let them have it.
Yeah. The money can go into the government. Anyways.
Yeah. So the film stars, and I'm going to struggle with these. These are...
You cannot even rely on me. I can't do it.
So is it Belarusian?
Belarusian.
They're Belarusian names. It stars Alexei Kravchenko, Olga Mironova, and Lyubomiras Latsvicius. Apologies to that man.
Sorry, bud.
I believe he is the most prominent partisan officer that we that reoccurs multiple times.
They called him...
yeah, he has a name in the film, but it's a Belarusian name, so I don't know it. So the brief synopsis of the film is, after finding an old rifle, a young boy joins a Soviet resistance movement against ruthless German forces and experiences the horrors of World War II. Boy,
yeah, that's it.
1000%.
That's the whole movie.
If this sounds like something you're interested in, I highly recommend it. We're going to recap the entire film and spoil it.
Yeah.
But it is a very...
gut punch.
It's a gut punch of a film for sure. But I do think it's important. And we were discussing before we started recording that this area of World War II, I think, is not something that's widely discussed in American culture. Yeah. Especially in public schools, because this isn't really something I learned about in public school. You learn about it through media later, that, World War II was vast, and the crimes of Nazi Germany were wide. They were fighting on multiple fronts, and everywhere they went, they committed atrocities.
And shit, yeah.
Yes. And a lot of that occurred in Eastern Europe. Of course, the Holocaust is something that is taught universally, hopefully,
because that was that was like the worst of it.
But that is the focus of a lot of the atrocities of Nazi Germany. But they also were essentially committing war crimes everywhere they went.
Mm-hmm.
And this film really focuses in on how all across the Western Front they would roll into these small villages.
This is Eastern Front.
Excuse me, the Eastern Front.
You get
You're right. Germany is rolling through Eastern Europe and just decimating villages as they go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a title card at the end of the film that reads, 628 Belarusian villages were destroyed along with all of their inhabitants, and presumably by Nazi Germany during World War II here. Come and See was directed by Elim Klimov. Ales Adamovich, who co-authored the memoir the film is based on, co-wrote the screenplay with the director Ailes. Ailes fought with the Belarusian partisans as a teenager.
Oh, no shit.
Yes. He co-wrote the memoir about
Holy fuck.
this kid in the movie. Now, the Belarusian partisans loosely refers to an irregular military group of citizens from Belarus and Russia that formed to fight the occupying Nazi Germany army. They were essentially guerrilla fighters. This is why in the film they're just wearing standard clothes. Like they're nicer coats and jackets, but they don't have military issue anything.
There's two guys. I think there's two guys in there that are wearing some form of uniform.
Right.
They're the ones that steal Fliora from his house. And the one dude has like a big metal chest plate that is barely fitting on him.
But all of their equipment is, you can tell it's
shit that they found.
Right. It's cobbled together from other battles or from dead soldiers. They're not all wearing regular uniforms. So they were essentially guerrilla fighters, and many partisan groups formed to fight. I'm saying that right? Partisan? Yeah.
Yeah, partisan.
They were essentially guerrilla fighters, and many partisan groups formed to fight Nazi Germany forces during World War II across France, Italy, Greece, Yugoslavia, Slovakia, just to name a few. This is a big topic about France in particular. There were a lot of Parisian partisans.
Ah, okay.
Because Nazi Germany steamrolled into France.
Oh, yeah. They caught them off guard.
Right. And there were a lot of resistant factions, let's say, that were underground fighting Nazi Germany with whatever they could at the time.
Years.
And all across Eastern Europe, honestly. The original title of this film was Kill Hitler.
Oh, I run with that, dude.
Unfortunately, the Soviet censors at the time deemed it inappropriate.
Oh,
it was a battle. It was a battle the director lost, unfortunately.
Soviet Russia.
The movie's title, though, Come and See, is derived from the New Testament. It is in the book of Revelation as an invitation to look upon the destruction caused by the four horsemen of the apocalypse. It reads, "And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth."
Yeah, fucking scripture, Jared. That's great.
I guess I'll get right into it. There's a couple of notes I'm going to come back to when I'm done with the recap.
Okay, good. I do want your notes.
I just scribbled down some things I want to bring up later.
Okay.
But it's
not relevant right now. I got you.
No, I want to do the recap first. Okay. Do you want to say anything before I get into this? Because I'm going to read this whole page.
No, yeah, but by all means, I'll interject in some of the bits. But like,
oh yeah,
it sucks. Everything fucking sucks.
That's a bummer, man.
Yeah.
So here's the recap of the film.
Yeah.
In 1943, two Belarusian boys are playing soldiers in a sandy trench, looking for discarded rifles. An older man from their village shouts at them not to dig up any weapons, as they will arouse suspicion of the occupying German army. The older boy, Fliora. The older boy, Fliora, finds a rifle buried in the sand, but his celebration is cut short as a German aircraft flies overhead, causing the boys to hide.
Now, was that a German aircraft or was that a Russian aircraft? Because it was like almost immediately Russian showed up to steal him away.
The partisans.
Yeah.
I believe it was a German aircraft because it's the same one that we see like 4 more times in the film.
Oh, yeah,
and I think it's one plane that was still operational from World War II that they were able to get, filmed for these scenes in the movie.
I wonder if they got the tanks working too, because
there's the one tank, right?
There's 2 tanks.
There's 2?
There's one in the woods and there's one that's driving like
right, where it's driving like, yeah. That thing was like even a tank, or was it like a truck with like a tank box?
Possibly. I don't know. It was silly.
The next day, partisan soldiers arrive at Fliora's house to enlist him, much to the dismay of his mother. Fliora is low ranked and given menial tasks, but is left behind when the partisan soldiers move on from their camp. Dismayed at this, Fliora walks into the forest crying and comes across the partisan nurse from the camp, Glacia. Glacia and Fliora strike up a fast friendship and bond in the woods before German paratroopers bomb the surrounding area. Shell-shocked but alive, Fliora and Glasha travel to Fliora's village to avoid the Germans. Unable to find anyone in the eerie village or his fly-covered home, Fliora figures his family must have moved to a nearby island and runs off. As Glasha runs after him, she spots a large pile of executed villagers behind Fliora's house. It's rough.
That shit was grim.
It was... This is like a 20-minute scene, it felt like, of him rummaging through his village trying to find signs of anyone.
Yeah.
And you just see like a dead dog in the background. And he sits down at his kitchen table that's covered in flies because there's like rotting food everywhere. And he thinks his mom and his sisters must have just got up and left, like walked outside.
Yeah, because the food
And he
was
thinks
still hot,
nothing of it.
remember?
Well, that's what he says.
Oh, but
But
lying?
when he serves it to Glasha, she eats it and vomits because it's old.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It's curdled. And I think he's not allowing himself to realize it.
Right.
And when he wanders outside and looks down the well, he's, we know now that he's right next to the pile of bodies. And I think he's not willing himself to, he's disassociating. He's not letting himself see them.
I gotcha.
Fliora and Glasha become hysterical while wading through a bog, and Fliora attacks Glasha after she tells him that his family is dead. A partisan fighter finds the two and prevents Fliora from hurting Glasha further. The partisan takes them to a group of villagers that have evaded the Germans. Fliora finds the village elder from the beginning of the film, having been badly burnt by the Germans. The elder tells Fliora that he witnessed his family's execution, and that it is Fliora's fault for digging up the rifle. Distraught, Fliora attempts suicide in a bog, but the villagers pull him away and comfort him. Later, 3 partisan soldiers take Fliora to search for food for the villagers. They find a storehouse guarded by German soldiers and end up in a minefield while retreating. 2 of the soldiers die in the minefield, leaving Fliora with the soldier that found him and Glasha. Together, they sneak up on a farmer in an occupied village and steal his cow to bring back to the villagers. While escaping, German forces fire a flare into the sky and begin shooting tracer fire at Fliora and the partisan, as well as their cow. The partisan soldier and the cow are killed in the ensuing gunfire. The next morning, Fliora attempts to steal a horse from another farmer, but the owner insists that Fliora leaves the horse. As German troops approach, the farmer has Fliora hide his rifle and coat, identifying him as a partisan, and together they ride into the farmer's town, where they discuss a fake identity Fliora so that the Germans do not suspect him. At the village, Fliora is rounded up with hundreds of other families, as the Nazi soldiers move in and begin terrorizing the villagers. Eventually, all of the citizens are forced into a large barn church and told to abandon their children inside and crawl out the window. Fliora and a small young woman manage to escape the barn, only to witness further cruelty by the German forces outside. Eventually, the soldiers begin tossing grenades and Molotov cocktails inside the church, before eventually burning the entire building to the ground. Fliora is left to witness the village burn as the Germans move out and down the road. Fliora wanders after them, only to discover that they were ambushed by the partisans. Fliora finds that his fellow partisans from earlier have rounded up 11 surviving German soldiers, some begging for their lives and blame their leadership, while a younger soldier insults them and vows that Germany will continue to root out and kill all communists. The crowd of partisans and surviving villagers shoot all of the remaining German soldiers and take their leave. Fliora wanders off and finds a portrait of Adolf Hitler lying in a puddle. For the first and only time in the film, Fliora raises his rifle and shoots multiple rounds into the portrait, as real-life footage of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi forces play in reverse over the screen. Eventually, we see Hitler as a baby, sitting in his mother's lap, and Fliora stops firing and begins to cry. A title card appears which reads, 628 Belarusian villages were destroyed, along with all of their inhabitants. Fliora runs after the departing partisans and falls into their ranks as they march into the woods.
And that was Come and See. But like with a lot of the bad vibes removed. Man, this movie was fucking depressing.
Yeah, I knew it would be. The poster for this film is famous. It has the 14-year-old star with the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, the shell shock on him.
Right. It's mimicking that famous photograph of the shell-shocked soldier, where he is, he has a dirty, muddy face, but his eyes are bright as can be, but he's just staring right through you. It is a haunting image. And this film was shot, under the Soviet rule in the 80s. And so it was a little rough.
Yeah. The one thing that really got me, it was really fucking annoying, was the ADR.
Oh, I just meant the actual shooting of the film.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Was very intense.
Oh, really?
It's become legend from this film that the shooting of this film was so intense that it actually gave the 14-year-old star his hair turned gray.
Oh, no shit.
Yes, by the end of filming.
That's pretty wild. I mean,
a lot of the scenes where they're shooting weapons, especially the tracer fire scene in the middle of the film,
it was real
rounds. They were actually shooting rounds over his head in a lot of the scenes where he's ducking for cover.
Oh,
the cow that is shot, that was an actual cow that
no fucking way.
They shot and killed. Okay,
for the film. You brought up the cow.
I tried to give you a content warning beforehand because I know you can be sensitive to animals.
Yeah, well, so
I didn't know there was an actual animal murder in this film until I watched it.
So I didn't know if that was real or not because I was looking. I was, when you warned me, I was intently looking to see if it was like camera tricks or whatever, and I saw the cow get hit, but it was almost like sparklers. It wasn't even like
tracer fire.
Damn, dude.
Yeah,
and there was like no blood on impact. It's kind of crazy.
Gunshots are surprisingly
bloodless.
Yeah, they're not what you think of in the movies.
It was just weird,
but also because most of the blood is going to either pour from the wound after the fact or
come out the other side,
explode out the other side. Exactly.
Right.
Whereas in movies, there's just a giant, blood pack spraying out forward during the gunshot.
Well, that's pretty wild. Okay, I can understand how this kid would get fucking aged up real quick. With that must have been stressful as shit, dude.
So to kind of counteract it, the director attempted to hypnotize the actor so that he wouldn't be affected by the filming. But he has stated that it did not work, and he only pretended to be hypnotized so that it would satisfy the director.
What the fuck, dude? The 80s were wild. Did you? I want to go back in. Well, I don't want to go back and watch this movie, but I want to go back in time. How long between Fliora's last word and the end of the movie?
He doesn't speak a lot. Yeah, you're right.
He stops talking after a while.
Well, and he kind of he's almost made deaf by the first rounds of bombing.
Yeah, I remember Glasha saying, whatchamacallit, that he's deaf.
Right, when she gets rescued by the partisan, when Fliora is attacking her, basically, like, because he flips out when she says, like, your family's dead, and he flips out on her and starts, like, strangling her.
Yeah.
She's like, he's half deaf, like, he can't hear, and his family is dead. So she's trying to be like, listen, he's not bad.
Yeah, don't hit him.
He's just flipping out. Yeah. I kept thinking that Glasha was that other girl in the barn that escapes with him too, that eventually gets brutalized by the Nazis later.
I thought that was Glasha as well.
No, it's not. It's a different
chick from
woman.
Oh fuck, Jesus Christ.
I don't even want to. I didn't put her in the recap. The other woman from the barn. I didn't want to put in what happens to her because it's not shown. It's only implied, thankfully.
Yeah,
but it's rough.
Dude, I wonder if somebody was on the other side of the barn when they yeeted her kid back over the window, because they like dropped that kid. A woman in the barn tries to hand a toddler through the window, but they said, people abandon your children and only the adults can crawl through. So she crawled out.
A
with
mother
her kid.
tries to throw a
she crawls out with the kid, and they separate them, and they just
that Nazi soldier just tosses the baby back.
Yeah, he puts he grabs the kid, like how you would grab a kid, and then put him on the window and just basically kind of like pushed him, and the kid like fucking flops, and like I don't know who was on the other side of that, but I hope they caught that kid, because kids aren't stable.
I hope he's okay.
I hope that kid's okay. Man, God, this movie was so fucking rough. You know what I did like though?
It's a beautiful film.
It's very good looking, and the person who was filming it knew what they did. Like, we like a competent director on this podcast, and this guy was doing the George Lucas thing before, or I guess after George Lucas was doing the George Lucas thing of it's like poetry, it rhymes, because the beginning of the movie, shortly after he gets recruited, there's this great scene.
He gets enlisted, conscripted.
Yeah,
it's kind of against his will, but he's also kind of into it.
Yeah, he's into it because he's like, oh, I get to do this important thing. I get to go, kill Nazis who are occupying my country.
Right.
I get to go on an adventure, make new friendships, and maybe fall in love, you know? And when he meets everybody that he's fighting with, you know, there's this big celebration. They're all taking a picture. Everybody's coming. Oh, here's the chief, and here's our first sergeant, and here's the cow, and it says, "Eat me before the Germans do." And we're all having a good time. We're going to take a picture. We're going to look heroic. And then, like, all that's snatched away from him just because there's a veteran that has really shitty boots, and the kid has new boots, so he has to get rid of them.
So yeah, that's why they abandoned him at the camp. They're like, well, you don't have boots, so you might as well stay behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you do the poetry at rhymes part with the Germans doing the exact same thing, but it's not for being jovial or for protecting anything. It's, hey, we did fucking awful atrocities and it fucking rules. And this is us taking a picture with this poor Belarusian kid on his knees about to get executed in front of a burning church with bodies.
Right. A church in the background burning with like hundreds of people inside.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then like, I don't know. It was rough.
Yeah.
It was just a rough movie.
There were scenes that you probably couldn't do today where they just have mobs of people inside the church, like
freaking out,
pulsing and thrusting, trying to break out of the barn.
I was thinking about the crowd crush. I was like, I was hoping that the camera's focus was on just enough people doing that, but they had enough space in the backs for people to like, so they're not getting smashed, you know. But I have no idea. I have no idea.
No,
how
I think they really
he
got as many extras as he could and crammed them into this building. It's intense. I mean, it makes for a wonderful, haunting but beautiful film. Like the lighting is incredible. Like every time I just looked at it, I was like, this is just so well lit and shot. It's so beautiful. And it was the director's final film. And like he lived for like 20 more years after this. I think he died in 2009, but he never made another film. He became the president of what was essentially the Directors Guild of Belarus. Yeah. But yeah, he never made another film. He was like, I've made every story I've wanted to make, essentially. But I think it was because he was so tired from fighting, because he had to fight tooth and nail to make every movie he'd made.
Oh, word.
Yeah. And he was like, constant, like Akira Kurosawa, he was constantly making movies that like the government censors were pushing back against, and he was, had to fight them and compromise all the time. You know?
I was gonna say one last thing. It was very interesting because I've watched, as you say, we don't really get taught what happened on the Eastern Front of World War II and in school and whatnot. You kind of learn through media, and the biggest thing shown through media of the Eastern Front is when the Russians were assaulting, was it Stalingrad? And they had like one guy gets some bullets, the other guy gets a gun, and if you find a gun, you put your bullets in it, or if you find the bullets, you put in your gun. Yep. And they had like, the commissars making sure nobody came back and whatnot. So that's like recreated in Modern Warfare, the Call of Duty games.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a movie called Enemy at the Gate.
Yes.
Have you seen that movie?
A long time ago. I barely remember it, but I remember seeing it when it came out.
I watched it during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see a movie that was based on not Russia's involvement, but Eastern European involvement in the war from an Eastern European centric filmmaker,
right,
versus the Eastern European front of World War II from an American perspective, because Enemy at the Gates is so silly. Like, it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. But it was like there was like a weird love triangle and whatnot. But like my favorite thing in that film was Ron Perlman shows up, and he's a sniper. And he's working with our main character, Jude Law, who's also a sniper. And Ron Perlman's character is very much like a Marxist and a commie, and he like, lives and breathes it and whatnot. And somebody like... they're all Russian characters, and one of the characters in the thing like chides him for being a Marxist. But like, isn't that the whole fucking thing? Like, it's just so funny to have like an American centric director filming a communist during World War II. It's just it's silly. It cracks me up. I do like that movie though. It's pretty other than that part.
I think a big reason why we don't learn about especially Russia, but like a lot of the Soviet, which was a lot of these nations,
right?
In Eastern Europe were wrapped up in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
We don't learn about them or focus on them in America because they were the villains. The Cold War happened after World War II, and we saw all of those nations as evil. They were a threat,
Well, I mean, weren't we cool with you can cut this out if you want to. Or weren't we cool with Hitler doing what he was doing against the Russians before Pearl Harbor got bombed?
So that's
because they were killing the communists, right?
It's complicated.
I know it's complicated.
We did have a Red Scare prior to the first Red Scare was like in the 30s.
Yeah.
And, we weren't super cool with Russia, even way before the Cold War. And we were like begrudging allies during World War II. And this is all I'm not a World War II historian.
You're not a historian, Jared? Oh, I can't wait for
but
the
I know a little bit about this that I've picked up from other people. But, we were never always like the tightest of bros with Russia, right?
Yeah.
And
we weren't chill with them. They were giving off bad vibes. I got it.
But World War II, we were like begrudging allies because we both hated the Axis, essentially.
Right.
And, we team up to fight Hitler. They obviously have a real chip on their shoulder about Hitler because he's rolling into the Soviet Union and just massacring
He's
people.
fucking them up real bad. Didn't want to get involved. It was like politically...
Right. We were very, not xenophobic. We were isolationist.
Yeah.
We didn't, we being America at the time, didn't think it was worth getting involved until we were dragged into it by Pearl Harbor. And, that was Japan, but they were part of the Axis, which was Germany, Italy, and Japan.
Yeah.
And so that's when we decided, all right, we're getting involved now.
Time to go.
You woke the terminology at the time was like you awoke the sleeping giant,
Do we have to teach you this lesson again, old man?
Yeah, right. But yeah, almost immediately after World War II, we're kind of on the outs with Russia again, and so their involvement and in a lot of their history with the atrocities committed by Nazi Germany against the Russians and against all of the Soviet Union, which was a smattering of countries across Eastern Europe,
right,
are kind of not focused on in America, especially just in society in general or in the public education system, which is we're both products of. So it's, I had to learn about it as an adult way later through other forms of media like books and movies, and this film in particular, I found to be very enlightening because most of our films that we are introduced to of atrocities, in particular of atrocities of Nazi Germany, are like the Holocaust, or even just very general World War II, war movies.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we see like U.S. soldiers walking through a European town.
And it's fucking obliterated.
And it's just
decimated.
Yeah.
Band of Brothers comes to mind. There's a scene where all the guys show up and they're in Belgium and they go through a town and everybody's celebrating them and whatnot. And then I think they end up having to double back and that town is fucking obliterated. Or it was the next town over, and it was just nobody was there. Buildings destroyed, razed to the ground.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah, they don't like get into what happened, obviously, but it's like you infer whatever you want.
Right.
So yeah, they're bad dudes, not good guys. So, Jared, I want to ask you. You knew that I had watched and enjoyed All Quiet on the Western Front, and then that's when you suggested this movie to me. So, how are these two movies tied together? Because I know you haven't seen Western Front, right?
Not the newest remake.
You've seen the 70s one?
Yes.
Okay.
I watched that one. Yeah.
And so so you're familiar with the subject matter.
Yes.
So what was it when I texted you? I was like, man, they're really similar. And you said that there are some courses where they would suggest this movie over the other one or in addition to the other one because of how similar they are, even though the setting is completely different. It's separated by like 30 years.
Yeah. Two different wars, obviously.
Two different factions.
But they are both, that's right. But they are both, haunting but realistic looks at, what could have been an actual person's experiences in war. Now, All Quiet on the Western Front is more of from a soldier's perspective, specifically a conscripted soldier in a regular army
Yeah.
And their involvement with trench warfare is mostly what I remember from the film.
It's not just trench. It was like how to explain it? It was
Is there a mustard gas scene in that movie?
Yeah, that's
fucking
right. Rad.
Yeah.
How would
I feel like did the Wonder Woman movie take a lot of imagery from All Quiet on the Western Front?
I mean, in a way,
yeah.
But like, it takes place during World War I, so like,
right.
I mean, all you had to do is like, okay, what do you think about when you think about World War I? Well, trenches and mustard gas. I mean, you're gonna get fuck. Even in the Kingsman, one of the most recent Kingsman movies, takes place during I want to say World War I, and there is a trench. There are trenches, and there is a trench fight, or a fight in the middle of the trenches where both sides have to be quiet, so that they don't get immediately obliterated by the other friendlies and enemies.
Right,
and it's actually really cool. Everybody dies. It's mutually assured destruction, unfortunately. But anyways, what I think about when I think about All Quiet on the Western Front is this lie that was sold to the young men of Germany and all around the world that, oh yeah, this, when you go to war, you spend time with these men, they become your brothers, you go to interesting places, you're fighting for the good of your country.
You're being brave, you're committing courageous acts.
Yeah.
The men in charge of you are smart and valorful men that are giving you great
orders,
leadership and orders.
And they have your well-being in mind.
Right.
And that instantly going away.
Right.
The moment that they set foot in the trench, it's hard. It sucks. Nothing's beautiful. You pop your head out, you die. Every day you're getting bombed. Every day you're fighting tooth and nail for mere inches. And that's like the first experience that Paul has in that film, the realization that none of this is glamorous or fun. And the downtime of that film is them going from one part of the front to the next part of the front over and over and over again, fighting over and getting into the enemy's trenches just to be pushed back. And like how all of it is basically meaningless because of how the movie ends. And in this film, it's the same. Some of it is the same. Flura does have the exact same ambitions in mind. But then once it's ripped from him, it's nothing but atrocity and tragedy at every turn.
Right.
There's almost a point where even when things are good, like when he steals the cow, he's really excited. He's like, oh man, I'm going to bring this back to all these starving people.
And him and the other partisans sit there and start milking the cow to drink it because they haven't eaten anything in a while.
And they're having a great time.
And they're so excited by the cow's milk.
Yeah. And that reminds me of Paul, and I can't remember the other guy's name, sneaking into a French farmer's farm and stealing goose eggs. And I think they even steal a duck at one point in time. And, how fun that is, but the last time that they do it, they don't even have to do it. The war is over, but the last time that they do it, whatchamacallit, Paul's partner, this guy he spent, the last 3 years with, gets shot by the farmer's son, but also shoots the farmer's son. Like senseless violence that did not even need to happen. They didn't have to go over there and steal eggs. They didn't have to go get breakfast, but they did. And they didn't even get the eggs. Like the eggs get shot, there's so many mirrors between the two, but I know that All Quiet on the Western Front was a book before it was a movie, and it was written by I want to say a World War I soldier, was it not, who survived all of it?
Right, and this was loosely based on memoirs
of a 14-year-old who was in a partisan.
Right.
So it's crazy how you can have two people separated by time and countries have a similar experience, almost to say that war sucks. Human conflict is awful, and fuck, why do we even do this?
Absolutely.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
Very bad. And I know that like as far as like World War I goes, that was the last time that you could sell the glamour of conflict to people, because there was so well documented of all of these millions of soldiers dying for basically nothing for fucking 3 years.
I think it was World War II.
I mean, yeah, World War II was bad, but I don't think that I really don't think that anybody wanted to have anything to do with that. Whereas the the French and German and possibly even English sides of that conflict were very much, big on propaganda, because like conflict before that was rank and file. I stand in front of you, you stand in front of me, we shoot. And it wasn't, there wasn't a lot of pictures, there wasn't a lot of documentation. But then with World War I, we had moving pictures, we had kind of technology and whatnot, and better documentation of what was going on, and the veterans coming back and like just being almost nonverbal,
Right.
like don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. I'm not too sure.
I think as we got closer to the modern age, like we were more able to share the atrocities of war, from all sides,
Yeah.
and both from civilians and from soldiers, what they had to deal with, Where was I going with that? I don't know.
Man.
Who
I
can
asked
say?
you a question and then I rambled about All Quiet on the Western Front. That's a good movie. We got to watch the most recent one, man. It's really good.
Yeah, it won like best international picture, I think, at the last Oscars. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's on Netflix, right?
It is.
I'll have to torrent it. I looked this up to be sure, and it is well documented that German forces would move into towns and round up citizens into, the biggest building they could find and burn it down. That is a thing that they would do.
Why? Why? It makes. I mean, like the one young soldier at the end of the movie, who was the guy that told everybody to leave your kids in the barn. Remember?
Oh, the one that's defiant. When the older guy is like kind of begging, he's like, "Listen, I wouldn't hurt anybody. I don't want to do this." And then the younger German soldier is like,
"You don't deserve to
live."
He's
like, "You're a piece of shit." And he looks up at the other partisans and he's like, "You're all communist scum. Yeah, we're gonna kill all of you.
Your country doesn't even deserve to live because you're all communists."
Right. And he knows he's at the other end of a barrel. Like he knows there's no way out for him, and he's still defiantly, like he is so bought in to the Nazi rhetoric that he's like, "Fuck you, fuck all your people."
Right. So like, is that the reason why they did this shit, or they're just like, power drunk?
That's the thing. It's the fascism got so deeply embedded into the German people at the time that it I think there's an argument to be made that it made them see, it let them otherize people.
Yeah.
They didn't see people as other people. They were like, these are just scum. We can treat them like dirt because they are lesser than us,
Right.
They are, they're he uses communist in the film.
Right. But we don't even know what the translation actually was. We have no idea.
And in reality, what would he have said? Like,
well, I mean, some of the characters, some of the people in the movie, they call them Yids, which I assume
it means Jew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like
Yiddish. Yeah.
That's a part of.
So
maybe
obviously, we all know that the Germans very much hated at the time.
Yeah.
Nazi Germany very much hated Jews. And yeah, there's a scene where they find a Jewish villager while they're raiding that village near the end. And they separate him from the rest and start torturing him. Like essentially they're kind of like hosing around with him. Kind of like some college kids would play with, like a dork.
And then they end up throwing him in the church.
Right. And he ends up getting killed with everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, to them, a Jew or a Belarusian, partisan, anybody, they didn't care. You were not them. You were scum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit was fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember the efforts of all people that fight fascists,
That's right.
Because we don't talk about not just the Russian forces, but Belarusian, Slovakian, Yugoslavian,
all of them.
Name it.
Yeah.
All down Eastern Europe that fought back against fascist forces of Nazi Germany.
And doing it
and
as,
on their
partisan
turf.
groups, on their turf. Yeah.
They were in irregular militias, they were like, okay, there is a occupying force that's here to take our lands and kill us and our people, and we're going to fight back. And we don't really, it's crazy that we don't learn about that, because you would think
brave.
The fucking conservative ass gun nuts and freaks and the don't tread on me assholes would love a story like that.
That's true.
But, maybe they're a little too in love with fascism to
maybe
take the hint.
Have you watched anything recently? Because in the last episode we had
this
hung out in 3 weeks. So like, have you watched anything since? You watching anything now?
I want to make a special shout out. Okay,
let's hear it.
Let's transition. I'll drop in a sound cue, maybe a song or a.
You should play the
Mozart song from
the Soviet Union theme. Yeah, that one. Do that one. Just drop in Tetris.
So recently, a TV show that I have loved and gotten a lot of enjoyment out of, but it's a very strange show. It's hard to recommend it because it can be pretty divisive.
What show?
It just recently ended, and I highly recommend everyone seek it out. However, it's on an app for a company that I am very mad at right now because they are a big part of the strike. It's on the Max app.
Oh,
I'll just say.
Yeah, we re-subbed to it actually for Harley Quinn. So I actually have been meaning to ask you what the fucking show was that you need me to watch, and it's this one, isn't it?
So I recommend everyone go out and pirate it because
of course you don't want to give money to
the creator has been paid already.
Right.
So good for him. It's called How To with John Wilson.
That's right. How To. That's right.
How To with John Wilson.
I know.
It is a documentary
question mark
show. I say with a question mark, you know, with an uptick in my voice. But it is basically this guy, John Wilson, is a amateur documentary filmmaker. Maybe I'm being condescending by saying amateur. But he just walks around New York City where he lives all day with his camera ready to record at all times.
And he talks to people.
And he'll just interview people on the spot. He'll ask them questions, or he'll just get a random shot of like someone on a subway like having a bad day. And he just like records it.
Right.
And he'll make a few seconds on the show. And each show has a loose theme, like how to find a bathroom, and which is a hard thing to do in a major city like New York City.
I know how to do it in Japan, in Japanese.
So outside of America, I understand it's much easier because they believe in public infrastructure.
I mean, I was going to tell you how to just say it. Toire wa doko desu ka?
Oh, specifically like how to ask. Yes. Okay. Well, in New York City and a lot of other major American cities, it's harder to find a bathroom to use because you either need to be like a paying customer of the establishment or what have you.
Capitalism.
Exactly. But it takes them to some interesting things. You can never guess where an episode is going to go. I'm dead serious.
Okay.
You're never going to guess what's going to happen. And he always ends up starting with some, trite or benign topic. And he will string together a series of shots that he's collected with a rambling monologue that he has that is just great. But the monologue itself, like if you saw the shots by themselves or heard the monologue by itself, they would not be sense. Great. It's because it's a combination of the two that make it so great as a whole. And there's lots of puns, of course.
Oh no. Okay.
But they're so great because the weirdness or just the oddity of the shot or the scene.
Yeah.
And it's not a scripted scene. It's something he found.
Right.
That makes it so incredible.
Yeah.
Like a very benign one will just be like a loaf of bread hanging from a subway handrail. And it's like, how did that get there? Why is it fucking there? It's so strange. And he will go on a tour or a journey that he winds up in the strangest place.
Yeah.
One episode, he starts investigating like how an organ, like the piano.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to investigate how like organs inside people, like organic organs, are transported. But by accident, he is scheduled with an interview for a guy who ships organs
the instrument.
Players, the instrument. Yeah. And that leads him to a pizza restaurant that is themed around organ players. And while he's in there documenting the restaurant, he meets a man that's there to eat and asks him what, if he likes the pizza there. And it comes out that he is in a part of a group that freezes people upon their death.
Oh,
so that they may be
resurrected,
thawed and resurrected later when modern science can save them.
Yes.
And so he goes to this company.
I watched that. I know that company, dude. I've watched I've watched a documentary about them.
So
when I was 12, and I was
shit.
like, I really need to get in on this.
So he goes into this company and looks into it and starts interviewing people there, and basically it feels like a multi-level marketing
It's
scheme.
quackery.
Yeah. It's all, you're basically buying life insurance and making the company the beneficiary. And John does not editorialize a lot, okay?
Right.
And in this, but it's very much from the shots shown. You're
could
giving
tell,
the
like,
impression
that.
like, oh, this is all fraud.
Yeah.
Like there's no way any of these people are ever coming back to life.
Yeah.
This is all a scheme run by what are people that maybe aren't even portraying that they're smart enough to pull this off. So why are people falling for it? And they're clearly people just clinging to the hope that they are going to be alive and rich in the future somehow. Yeah. It's so strange. And that's not even where it ends. It ends on a much weirder note that I don't want to spoil.
Fuck? That's crazy.
This is the most incredible show. Every episode,
I know you've been recommending me this for like a year now.
It's a 30-minute show, but every episode is a journey. It's so wonderful. It's cringy. It's dark. It's depressing. It's wonderful. It's enlightening. It's so many things. It is the breadth of the human experience in a 30-minute like show by like admittedly a very strange man.
Yeah.
Who's very timid. But he's just so great. I cannot wait to see what he does next. Unfortunately, the show did end. I think it's because HBO chose not to renew the show for a 4th season.
Oh, because they're making a lot of bad decisions.
They're fucking up left and right, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's a great show. There's even an episode where so he's nominated for an Oscar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the HBO after party, and he's not on the guest list. And the lady at the door is like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm John Wilson." And she's like, "And what show are you with?" And he's like, How to with John Wilson. And she's like, "Yeah, you're not on the list." His name is in the show.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know I need to watch this, and I've got it again. So like, there's no reason why I can't.
Yeah, no, it's a great show. Like,
I know, and the last recommendation that you gave me, which was the jury duty, was fantastic. So like,
if you don't like it by the first or second episode, give up.
Okay,
they're
it's all the same thing.
Yeah. Because like that's very much what it's going to be. It's not going to change from there. You know what I mean?
Right on.
Well, have you watched anything you want to talk about?
I mean, I watched Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Remember, I texted you about, and also I watched Talk to Me, which was fucking fantastic.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
I know.
I'm so jealous.
So because once again, I'm going to reiterate this because A24 is doing the right thing and taking care of its actors. I believe we should have the option to talk about some of their films every so often, not to be pretentious where we only talk about fucking A24 and be those guys with the A24 hats and whatnot, as you are concerned that we're going to end up being.
I had a good friend and major listener of the show recommend like, hey, you can do A24 because like they made deals with the guilds separately. And I was like, it's a good point, but I would worry we would be
right. No, I get it.
Too stereotypical.
I mean, yeah, we fit the bill. We don't wear the merch, but we fit the bill, and I understand that. But what I'm getting is like, Talk to Me was so good, and when you told me like the directors only did YouTube and like their YouTube stuff fucking sucks, it was.
I should say the production value is great.
Yeah,
it's it's cringy as fuck though.
But like watching this movie, it was so fucking good, and like I don't want to deride it to like simplify it down to it follows but with drugs instead of sex, but that's essentially what it is.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really good. Like Jared,
you know how much I love It Follows.
I do.
I think one of the greatest horror films of the last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. It's not my favorite.
Because I said it's one of.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Is that your favorite? Is that the top of the list?
No, it's not the top.
Okay.
You know what? Okay.
What is the top? What's the top of the list for you?
This could change tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
But you know what it is right now?
What?
It's Nope.
Oh, Nope's good.
I've been reevaluating Nope. I already loved it when I saw it. But like, I was telling you this earlier, I'm a sucker for alien invasion movies.
Yeah.
And Nope just really fucking did it for me, dude.
It's good. It's really good. The scene where Daniel Kaluuya is in the stables and he's got his phone and the kids are wearing the alien masks.
But the fake out.
The fake out, yeah.
Yeah.
That was fucking great. I remember
I was gripped.
Being in theaters with my wife and being like, holy fucking shit, they are showing it off immediately, and they're being like, this is like so playful and creepy. It's so good, but then it's a fake out.
I subconsciously like knew it was a fake. No, not even subconsciously. I knew it was a fake out, but the way it was holding the tension still
was great.
I was like, there's more to this though.
Yeah.
Because like these are like really weird looking suits. I don't think those are real because they wouldn't be showing so much of it. But what the fuck is happening here? It's so creepy. Yeah. It's so well done.
So Nope is at the top of the list. I
think right now Nope is my favorite horror movie.
It's good. It's a very good movie. And I can't wait to see what else Jordan Peele does. Yeah. But for me, it's Hereditary. But man.
Yeah. Hereditary is in the top 3 at all times.
It's obviously not Hereditary, it's Martyrs, but for normal people, it's Hereditary. And I'm going to tell you, Jared, this one makes a excellent strike.
Oh, I can't wait
at my top.
Oh my god, I can't wait to watch it.
It is got everything that you can want from a horror film. It's got great subject matter. It's rooted in reality, kind of. The parallels with what it's doing a critique on is really interesting. It has an Event Horizon scene in it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like there's one scene in it and I was like, that is straight from Event Horizon.
So there's clips from the trailer that I was like, oh, either this movie goes completely off the rails by the end, or maybe there's like a scene where she sees a lot of like disturbing images or viscera. So that's what I'm thinking. Okay.
It's that part. And I'm trying to think of like other stuff in there. Like it makes you queasy. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It's good, man.
Can I ask a potentially spoilery question and you can decide how to answer this?
Yeah.
You say it follows with drugs. So the premise that I gathered from the trailer is that the kids sit around this like hand thing, whatever it is, and it's like a bridge to the dead, and they ask it to talk to me.
Yeah.
Are they doing drugs in order for that ceremony, essentially? Like
they're doing drugs in addition to it.
Oh, just coincidentally.
Yeah, it's a party. And then that is like,
so it's not like a ritual where like you take a drug and then you like ask the other side, and that's kind of messes with you. Okay.
Yes, but the parallel is like, oh, let's do DMT or something that makes you hallucinate,
right? But
just the one person, and let's record it because it's funny.
Jesus,
yeah. But then like bad stuff happens because you're much like with your harder drugs and hallucinogens, you can get addicted. It can have bad side effects that would ruin your life. You could do something while you're high and harm yourself severely. Like all of those things are there, but there's a paranormal aspect to it, and there's some really good symbolism in there as well. I just it's so crazy to see like how competent these two YouTubers were in the direction of the film, and they got great performances. There's a teenager, he's like supposedly not even supposed to be 16. I don't know how old he actually is in real life. Great performance out of this kid. Like how much I like the witch. I love the monologue that fucking 10-year-old gives. It's beautifully,
when he wakes up out of his fever.
Yeah. It's beautifully delivered and very competent from a young person, and it's really cool to see that, especially from like, I don't even know, I've never seen this kid, and he delivers a great performance. Everybody is really giving excellent performances. It was good. I can't highly recommend it.
You know what I was really like thinking I really wanted to cover, but we can't.
What?
Donnie Darko.
We can do that later.
Yeah, we have to do it later.
Yeah, for sure.
Love that movie.
We could do a Jake Gyllenhaal month. I know, it's good, right?
He has a movie that I keep seeing clips from on Instagram. I think it's called Demolition or something. And he just looks like a businessman who like goes to like a construction set one day, or like they're building a house or demolishing a house or something.
Yeah.
And he asks the guys, he's like, "Hey, can I get like a sledgehammer and just like go to town in there?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he like slips the guy a few $100s. And he just like puts on a hard hat and goggles and just starts like
smashing,
tearing out a wall. And I don't know anything else about the movie, but I'm like, what is this?
what is this?
What is
I can already like see the intro now. Like, so we're, this month we're going to talk about both of our our boyfriends, if we were gay and if we were straight, who cares? It's going to be Jake Gyllenhaal month, baby.
It'd be a good excuse to revisit Source Code. I've only seen it the one time.
I've never seen it.
What?
I've never seen Source Code.
You've
I've
never seen
Source
Source Code.
Never seen Source Code.
Director of the World of Warcraft movie.
Yeah.
Or was it just Warcraft? It was just Warcraft.
It's Warcraft. I really liked the Warcraft movie.
You know who that is too, right?
No.
Duncan Jones.
I don't know who the fuck that is.
He is the son. He's a Nepo baby.
Of Alex Jones?
No.
Damn it. Who?
David Bowie.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Are you for real?
For real.
What the
For
fuck?
fucking real.
That's crazy.
David Bowie's kid. He made Moon.
Oh, Moon's so good. Moon is really good. So hold on. I actually like the Warcraft movie. So
I know you do. That's why I was like, you haven't seen Source Code.
I'll probably enjoy this.
I can't believe you haven't seen Source Code.
So Source Code's on there, obviously.
This motherfucker hasn't seen Source Code.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up. So Source Code, I would love to revisit Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler is one of his best performances.
It is, but that movie's a bummer to me.
Yeah, you can't have it all be good. We can't just do Brokeback Mountain.
I don't like it when a
row.
protagonist is bad.
Well, you don't like the Jonkler baby?
That's the simpler, like, you know how like Gen Z is like, I don't like sex scenes on movies. Why do we have them? I'm like, why does the protagonist have to be evil? Or why can't the good guy prosper in the end?
He's an anti-hero. Dude,
I hate the score in that movie because it's like...
It makes you feel bad.
No, it's like a heroic score.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's succeeding in his life. Even though he's garbage, he should be dead.
Nah, man. He's the Nightcrawler, baby. So we do,
and I want these things, and when I say that I want them,
these things, yeah. So we do. So hold on, year 2's Donnie Darko and Source Code. I want to watch Twisted Metal because apparently it's funny.
You're going to be shocked at how good it is.
Really?
Yes.
No, I'm not. I like Anthony Mackie. And I like
I'm shocked at how good it is.
Will Arnett. Like
one of the like, not even a star.
Yeah.
Like there's like a very tertiary character in it that shows up a few times. He is the host of a podcast that Courtney and I love.
Oh, really?
He's the big guy. You'll know when you see him. He plays Stu.
Okay.
We love him. And he's an actor.
Yeah.
The biggest thing he's ever been in was that Chris Pratt Alien movie for Amazon.
Oh, the one that everybody suggests I watch.
Have you not seen it either?
No, I've never. For Tomorrow War. I've never seen it, and I don't want to.
I've heard it's awful.
So many people have suggested it to me, and it's like, oh, because the aliens in there look like Tyranids. And like, cool. I like bugs. That's fine. You know, I get it. But like, if I want to watch a war movie that has bugs, then I'll watch Starship Troopers or I'll watch fucking Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch this film. You know,
it sounds bad. And I don't even want to waste my time with it.
Yeah.
But like every time Mitch is in something, we're like, oh, right, good for Mitch. But like, and he promotes it on the show, and we'll be like, hey, I'm in this movie. I'm going to get all the actors that I was like in the movie with on the show, and we'll review like Taco Bell for the 30th time.
Is it the
Stowboys?
Okay, I gotcha, yeah.
So when he was filming Twisted Metal, like he was talking about it all the time. They shot it in Louisiana, and so he was like eating a lot of like bayou food and stuff.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, and then he created this character that's like, I'm down here in the bayou. I'm going to get eaten by a gator. But he would have all the actors from the show on with him and stuff.
Did he get Anthony Mackie?
Anthony Mackie didn't do it, but Samoa Joe did.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
And
yeah,
Samoa Joe,
he's Sweet Tooth.
Yes.
Isn't he a wrestler?
But he is. He's AEW's like one of his,
he's the guy.
One of AEW's best dudes.
Okay.
He's about to fight MJF. I'm so excited for that too, by the way.
Cool.
Because him and Samoa Joe and MJF are two of like their funniest wrestlers.
Yeah.
Let alone like their best wrestlers.
Yeah.
But they've been doing promos lately, and like they're so fucking funny. I love them so much. I like it when wrestlers are funny.
Yeah.
But
we love comedy.
Exactly.
You know?
And although Courtney's favorite wrestler, who is like a comedy wrestler, like finally lost his title belt after a year of defending it, Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, I've heard her talk about
You're
that.
You're going to hear all about this when we do our episode.
Good. I'm excited. I want to fucking listen to it.
Orange Cassidy is so fucking
I've been watching a lot of heels, so like I'm down, man.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So Mitch is in Twisted Metal. He has like a pretty significant role, especially for him in the show.
Good.
And he can't promote it because of the strike now. And it's so sad. It's like he's in something that's finally good. Yeah. And he can't talk about it now that it's out.
But it is good for him to show solidarity.
Right. And he knows it, but he's like in a rock and a hard place now because like he can't talk about the show. So they had a writer, or no, not a writer, somebody who's not in a guild on recently. And they were like, hey, I'm not prevented from saying this. Go watch Twisted Metal. It's great. Mitch is really good in it. And he was like, thank you for saying that.
Aw, that's nice.
Yeah. But he's really good in it. It's a great show.
So speaking of funny stuff.
Yeah.
And once again, I know all this shit's going to get cut. So
I might clip some of it.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows?
So, me and Haley went to Halloween Horror Nights this weekend.
Yeah.
And every year there's like a joke house. Well, there's a couple of joke houses, right? And last year, my favorite house was this house that was themed around a 1950s ad of like you put this thing in your air conditioner that's on, a wall mount.
Window unit. Yeah.
And it's got a nice minty smell to it, and it kills all the bugs in your house. Well, actually, it makes all the bugs huge, and they kill you.
Yeah.
And it was called Bug. It was my favorite house last year. It was so kitschy and so funny and like so inventive. It blew all the other ones out of the water. I don't think it was the best house last year. I think Dead Man's Pier was because it was like thematically good, but Bug was funny. This year, there's a house that is literally themed off of Dueling Dragons, the roller coaster ride that they got rid of for Hagrid's.
Yeah.
And it's called Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate.
Yeah.
And the storyline of it is exactly the same as the fucking storyline for Dueling Dragons. 2 mages turn themselves into dragons and are fighting over control of this book of Merlin, right? Because Merlin's absent. And so the house has dudes that are wizards. One has like they're wearing chest plates that are like doing effects. One's a flame effect and one's an ice effect. And there are parts where they come out and they do like a fucking spellcasting pose, and they'll like strike a pose and lightning themed to their color strikes behind them. And there was a part where they're like literally shooting energy balls at each other, but like it's all, make believe and whatnot. And then one of the guys starts turning it into a dragon, and there's a window where there's like dragon scales behind it, and you're like, it's the transformation. And then they've got an excellent set piece where there's a giant castle, and they've got 2 dragons like built on it. One's red, one's blue, and that's when there's a part of this house where you either go left or right, and one's for red and one's for blue. And the house ends with Merlin coming out and being like, "Good job, travelers. You saved the realm and stole my book from the wizards." And it's fucking rad. Clearly, that's my favorite house. It's so fun and so funny. And like a love letter to a ride that I loved. It's even got set pieces from the ride. Like they kept pieces of the ride and put it in that house. It was so good. It wasn't the best house, not by a long shot. There's a house where a town is like doing blood sacrifices on the blood moon, and they have a set piece where it is little children in bags doing a maypole with intestines. Fucking awesome. Whoa. The grittiest shit ever, man. It was so fucking cool. But yeah, I really like Dueling Dragons.
Well, folks, thank you for listening. You can find our show on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. I'm Jared Rusk. Will, where can people find you, and what would you like to plug? I don't care about my socials.
I'm on X. Just kidding. You can find me at Pocket_Infinity on Instagram. Also, the show. I'll plug the show. I'm not going to plug the phone game again because I haven't had enough time for somebody else to join the Legion. But if they do, you get a shout out.
It's a sickness that has taken over us.
It's braiding.
Well, good night, everybody.
Oh, good night. But thank you for listening. Goodbye. I love you.
Debaser is hosted by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk, with production by Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcast. And please tell a friend to listen to Debaser. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.